Well, some breaking news from the markets. European shares are falling ahead of Italy's debt auction just before 10 this morning. We'll bring you the latest with Joel in a few moments' time. Let's take a look at how this morning's papers, both here and abroad, are reflecting on the Eurozone debt crisis. Labour, as we heard, unveils a new strategy over Europe, opposing any further transferring of power to Brussels. That's in The Guardian. The Chancellor's warning about the state of the French economy makes it to the front page of the Daily Telegraph. The Financial Times leads with the appointment of Mario Monti as Italy's Prime Minister designate. And the Times says the man dubbed Super Mario has been asked to save Italy from meltdown. And it's the same for the European edition of the Wall Street Journal, which says Mr. Monti perhaps has the most difficult task of any of Europe's leaders. And Mr. Monti is also unsurprisingly pictured on the front page of Italy's La Repubblica. Well, here with me at the Gherkin is the French journalist Nabila Ramdani. Alongside her is Tracy Corrigan, editor of the Wall Street Journal Europe. Ladies, thank you for coming in. Nice to see you both. Well, Tracy, what do you make of that? You heard Douglas Alexander there. It reflects this story on the front page of The Guardian. Britain needs a new EU policy for a new era, says Labour. Opportunistic or sensible?
I think it's pretty sensible, really. I mean, it's certainly we need to have a government and an opposition which is planning for a sort of a radically changing Europe. Potentially, we could end up with a much stronger Eurozone. So I think the politicians are right to start positioning the UK, as Douglas Alexander was saying, for ensuring that our trading position remains strong within that group. I think we can see that the UK is starting to look for potential allies outside the Eurozone. Maybe it would be nice if Turkey came into the EU.
Are you serious?
Well, I mean, I think it's a way, but I think the UK certainly is looking to have to find other. There are smaller countries that are going to remain outside the Eurozone, and it is very important for the UK to sort of continue to have its voice heard within Europe and within the European Union.
All right. What about the story on the front page of the International Herald Tribune? I don't know if you can see it. Top right-hand corner. It says investors get nervous over French ties to Italy's debt. Underneath, bond prices reflect concerns, but Paris says banks can weather the storm. Nabila, is that a story that's worrying the French, the fact that the French banks are hugely exposed to Italy and could be weakened if it doesn't sort out its problems?
Yes, very much so. And I think, because France's economy is intrinsically linked to Italy's, and as you said, French banks have the biggest international exposure to Italy as well. The French press is clearly concentrating on the emergence of Mario Monti and indeed the formation of a new government. And I have to say that the French press is very impressed by Monti's can-do confidence, and they also report on how he positioned himself as a strong, wise economic technocrat who can effectively rise above party politics to fix his country's economic problems. And you have to be noted as well that France doesn't have any problem with Monti's status as an unelected yet expert technocrat. We have a long tradition of welcoming unelected members.
This is how you do it in France. In deference to you, we have some French newspapers here with very different headlines. Le Monde, typically boring, talks about reinforcing the Franco-German axis. I think we can abandon that one. Much more interesting, this story, and I'd like your reflections on it, both of you. Les Echos, which is the French financial newspaper. It talks about the ratings agencies being in the sights of Brussels. Now, it seems to me that from this story that Brussels doesn't like the fact that these rating agencies have talked about downgrading France. This was S&P. In effect, they want to shoot the messenger. This is a very sort of French dirigiste way of doing things, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I think there have been a lot of problems with the efficacy of the rating agencies and the way it works. The problem is that nobody's actually come up with a better option. I mean, the idea that you should make a ratings agency part of some state or super state apparatus, I think, is far more scary, because, I mean, imagine the impossibility of some Brussels-run agency being able to give a sort of fair and objective analysis of the debt position of different countries. So
you can imagine the books being cooked immediately.
Exactly. I mean, I think S&P didn't do themselves any favours last week by accidentally sending out an incorrect rating change on France at a time when markets are very in a very precarious state, obviously.
Whether or not you think S&P is right, it was a clumsy way of doing things. A final story, this one from Libération, which is a French left-of-centre paper. It's one that intrigues me. It's talking about long queues, kilometres of queues for the soup kitchens in Spain. Now, Spain's a story we've kind of forgotten, but if you look at its unemployment, Nabila, 22% unemployment in Spain, higher than Greece.
Yes, and I think, and it is on the front page of the Canard Enchaîné as well, which is a rather alarmist, and basically it's a play on words saying that, you know, austerity and bankruptcy are not going to come cheap, because they are very, you know, concerned in France about social unrest, and that's why Fillon, you know, last week he made it very clear that bankruptcy is no longer an abstract term in France. He even talked about economic catastrophe and bankruptcy, and he unveiled a £50 billion programme of budget cuts and indeed tax increases. Now, and that highlights the seriousness of the situation in France. All
right, so Nabila, Tracy, many thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Nice to get your views. This is Jeff Randal Live, coming up after the break. Blame it on the bank. Should or could the ECB be the Euro's saviour?
Oh.
Is that like yours, Richard?
No, that's a Porsche. I got Clio.
The Cafe opens Wednesday, November 23rd on Sky One HD.
I remember standing in our kitchen and having the first set of pills and turning to my wife and saying, here we go then, because it's a journey and you don't know where you're going to go with it. Statistics show that 1 in 3 of us is going to get some form of cancer or be impacted by cancer. That's a very high proportion of the population. What I'd like to do is encourage lots of people to give just £2 a month to Cancer Research UK to help them continue with all the good work and the research that they're doing at the moment. Please call 0800 975 7000 to donate £2 a month to Cancer Research UK.
I was 11. The type of cancer that I had was a very aggressive form. James, my brother, my mum recently found one of his old primary school notebooks, and he'd written, I found out my sister has cancer, and I thought she was going to die. Because that is what people think when they hear the word cancer. Cancer Research UK has done work that's improved the survival rates of cancer patients dramatically over the last 20 years. £2 a month is nothing. You wouldn't even notice that come out of your bank account. Please call 0800 975 7000 to give £2 a month to Cancer Research UK. Thank you.
From one generation to the next, we never stop caring for our loved ones. And you can go on caring when you're gone with affordable life cover from Sun Life Direct. If you're aged 50 to 85, you could leave a cash gift or help towards funeral costs from just £4 a month with the Guaranteed Over 50 plan. You'll get a free Parker pen just for inquiring, so call for more information on 0800 60 18 99. The Guaranteed Over 50 plan from Sun Life Direct. Caring for generations.
In these tough times, if you ignore a chip, you could end up paying your insurance excess. One call to Autoglass and we can usually repair it before it cracks. Nobody covers more of the UK. This customer called when she first saw a chip. If you fully comp, a repair is usually free and won't affect your no claims. Call Autoglass direct or book online.
Autoglass repair, Autoglass replace.
Accidents devastate lives, but who's there to pick up the pieces? By calling Today Legal, people hurt in accidents received advice when they needed it most. Mr. Taylor called Today Legal after his road traffic accident. We helped him win £25,000. Mrs. Reed received over £45,000 compensation. And if we don't win your claim, you don't pay us a penny. So if you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, call now and we'll tell you within minutes if you have a claim. Or visit todaylegal.co.uk.
Good morning and welcome to the morning edition of Jeff Randal Live. Join me again at 7 p.m. to get the latest on all the political and economic developments in the Eurozone debt crisis. Now, there are growing fears that the Eurozone crisis could stifle Britain's economic recovery. A survey out this morning from the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development predicts a painful slowdown in the jobs market. The CIPD puts it down to the global economic turmoil. Let's speak to Dr. John Philpott of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. He joins me from our Central London studio. Good morning, sir. We currently have unemployment in this country at about 2.5 million. Where do you see it going to?
Well, I think on current trends, it should peak at about 2.7 million, either at the end of next year or early in 2013. However, we haven't yet seen the full implications of this Eurozone debt crisis. And if that were to get worse and were to push the UK economy back into a double-dip recession, then the jobs outlook could become even worse than that.
Now, you personally and your body in particular are sort of famously gloomy, really. I have here a report from January 2009 when you